touching those people. So you are our hands, you are our eyes and ears, you are walking our talk. And the sisters take great pride in that. And the pride is in you. I mean, they're glad, we're doing something, but their pride is really in you and what you are doing, because I always say the easy part is giving you the money. You're doing the tough work. You're dealing with, and I ran a microfinance fund for a while, so I know what it's like to have a woman come in and say, I can't pay my loan because my kid's in jail because he was doing drugs and I didn't realize he was doing drugs. Now, how do you deal with that, right? So I know that you're facing those kind of things, and yet you really help people get over those humps, deal with those issues, and you've been quite a success. So the sisters take great pride in you and see you as an extension of them living the ministry. So consequently, when you're having a tough day, and we all have those once in a while, right? And you're like, I gotta go home. I can't deal with this. When I was having hot flashes, I did that a lot. But when you're having one of those days, I want you to remember that we never say we retire. The sisters move from compensated to uncompensated ministry, but we're always in ministry. And many of them now have a ministry of prayer. So they're praying for all our benefactors, for those who've asked for prayers, for anybody connected with us. So I want you to know that when you're having one of those bad days, you just sit there and say, there's some sister somewhere who's praying for me, and I'm going to get through this. Because it'll be true. It'll be true. And hopefully that will help you through some of those tough times. Because the sisters have experienced that too. They know what that's like. So it really is a mutual ministry here. We're giving you the resources that we don't need right yet, but we're depending on you to carry on our ministries to all those vulnerable populations that we used to serve. And now we just can't be there. So thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for doing it so well. And thank you for constantly pushing the boundaries. When Julie asked me to say a bit about why did we invest in New Hampshire, I can tell you why the two funds that I manage, I have the maximum amount in you from those two funds, because I have watched New Hampshire Loan Fund go through the ups and the downs, the trials and the tribulations, and the successes of running and growing this kind of a fund. And I've watched your resiliency, and I've watched your commitment to mission. There are some loan funds that say they're committed to mission, but I want to see it deep in the organization. I don't want to just see a mission statement. I always ask whoever applies, I want you to write out how you meet our criteria. Too many people now are just saying, well, we're a loan fund, so we meet our criteria. I'm like, no. How do you empower women and children? How do you empower low-income people? What are you doing for the environment? My latest sermon, so to speak, is we say we empower women. How many women are on your board? How many women are in management? If you say you empower women and 50% of your beneficiaries are women, and I don't see one woman on the management team or one or two women on your board, you're not empowering women. That's not what our money wants to go for. So we want to keep pushing that in terms of the depth of the mission and how we live it, both in your organization as well as in your carrying out the mission. So I feel very strongly that legacy groups like New Hampshire really get that. It's in your guts. And so it's not going to be a whitewash. You know, there's a lot of funds starting up. Even Goldman Sachs now has a community development fund. I mean, putting the words Goldman Sachs and community development, I just can't imagine. But, you know, the woman who's running it is very sincere. So, you know, I hope she gets the money on the streets. I always say, I'm just getting the money on the streets. But I hope that they can really focus on mission. Not just a market niche. It's not about a market niche, it's about the mission. So that's one reason why I continue to keep New Hampshire in my sights. I promote you whenever I can. And the second reason is that you're also innovative. You know, I see some loan funds, I'll never forget, when there was a point when interest rates were shifting and some of the loan funds were like, we can't even compete, the banks are competing with us, this is terrible. And I'm standing there going, when we were first established, it was to show the banks what they could do, and we would get out of it. wait a minute, something just shifted here, and I don't like that kind of shift. But what I've seen in New Hampshire is that you keep asking the question. The mobile home parks are one iteration of that, but you keep saying, where are people who aren't being reached? Why aren't they being reached? The latest being loans to the mobile home owners, right? So you're constantly looking at and asking those people, what is it you need? Okay, what can we create? And I see some loan funds just sitting back and saying, we do affordable housing, we know how to do new market tax credits, we can do low-income tax credits. I'm like, there's more to it than that. Where are you pushing in your community? Where is that pocket that's not being reached? So I like that about New Hampshire as well. And the third piece is communication. If somebody sends me an app and I hear nothing more from them, and I try to call and I have a hard time getting a hold of anybody to talk to me, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. And I've had situations where an investment was rolling over and they had changed staff, they hadn't told me, I couldn't find out who. Boy, I took that investment back sooner than you could say maturity date. You know? Because if they can't respect that all I wanted was a phone call or an email to let me know how you're doing, then somebody's not watching things. Somebody's not paying attention. And a lot of times I'm just a new staff person and I didn't know. And I'm like, somebody's not watching things or paying attention. So communication for me, and I use that as part of my underwriting. How do they communicate with me? When I talk on the phone, who do they make sure is in the room that I talk to? Because some people are very conscious. Oh, I brought in the dot and the dot because I think you want to talk to. Those are all signs to me that they're working together. They're keeping their eye on the mission, but they're also trying to live that mission internally. You know, they're keeping staff involved in communicating. So communication with me is very important. In the early days, we used to say to the groups, if you run into problems, and you will, because I did a lot of direct lending. I did daycare centers. We didn't do healthcare centers in those days, but daycare centers, nonprofits who need, I'm still doing nonprofits who need working capital. What I'm sorry about is some of them are coming to me because they can't afford the interest rate of the loan fund. And I can give them 3%. So I'm sad about that because I still ask the loan fund to give me 3%. But, so, you know, I keep thinking, we got to think about that somehow, because there are some groups still falling through the cracks, meaning nonprofits. And I'm fine with filling them, but I'm not going to be a big enough fund to do all of that. So I'm still concerned about that. And I just lost my train of thought, because I went off on a tangent. Communication. So I've always said to the groups, if you're having problems, talk to me. I know a lot of groups, I know a lot of people. I might even be able to give you a resource. Who knows? But talk to me, because we're not afraid if you run into problems. What we're afraid of is if you're ignoring the problem, and we find out about it when we've already lost the money. Our purpose in lending is to help you as an organization thrive. That's the point of the money. I won't give you a loan if I think you don't need debt. But when you get a loan, we want you to use it to be successful. And I think that's what you do in working with your borrowers. You know, you're very clear. I just had, this group is doing some amazing work, video work, PBS, on stereotyping and, what do they call it? They call it Not in Our Town, but it's all about bullying that turns into deaths of people who are seen as either immigrants or other populations. They're doing some magnificent work. But you know, when she sent me her financials, I couldn't find income to pay a loan back. And I said to her, stop wasting your time looking for a loan. Waste your time raising money, because that's what you need. Now, I knew she was disappointed, and I hang up the phone and I go, oh my God, am I not being risky enough? Oh, geez, have I lost my edge? But at the same time, I don't want to put somebody in a position where they really should use grant money, not loan money. And I know you face that all the time, right? So, but I appreciate that you ask that question and then you say, but there might be a way we can help. You know, I don't have that flexibility in the funds I run, but you do. And I'm glad you use it. So those are the reasons why I like New Hampshire Loan Fund, and as Julie said, we all have the same core values, and those core values keep challenging us to ask more questions, don't they? You know, it's not over. Just when you think, I mean, the other day, I was looking at it and I thought, my gosh, we've been doing affordable housing all these years and it only took 2008. And oh my gosh, we have so much work to do in affordable housing still. So I was despairing a little bit, but then I remembered, you know, it's going to be one at a time. It's just going to be one at a time. That Merton prayer, you know, don't look for the big numbers. It's one at a time, and just keep taking the next step. So thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for being our eyes, hands, ears, and feet. And please keep up the great work because we're counting on you. And remember, somebody's praying for you somewhere.